if the plan is to bring in Adam Peters, if that's the Texans' plan after the draft, is the plan for them to trade for Trey Lance? Let me paint the picture right now. They got the second pick in the draft. I think they would want Bryce Young. This cognitive testing is kind of going viral. Let me explain. Brock Purdy was good at it. Trey Lance was good at it. The Niners value it. Now all of a sudden the whole league values it. Bryce Young, off the charts with this S2 cognitive test. CJ Stroud, apparently not. So it's looking like if Bryce Young goes one, maybe, Niners South, which is the Texans, might not want to work with CJ Stroud because of this test. If that's the case, they could take Will Anderson or someone else, a defensive player,
right,
and call the Niners and trade for Trey Lance.
Right.
That seems kind of plausible. What do you think?
I don't agree with that. I don't think that's plausible for a couple of reasons.
All right.
One is if you're DeMeco Ryans, you don't want to come in with somebody else's child. That's not your guy. You didn't pick that guy. You traded for him.
Real quick, couldn't you say they could say it was Adam Peters' guy, it was Bobby Slowick's guy? I mean, DeMeco's a defensive guy, but maybe they were on Trey's side of the organization. Sorry to cut you off, but it's possible.
Yeah, they
could sell it that way.
No, I'm gonna let you cook, but DeMeco Ryans again is the head coach. We
it's true.
The same level of scrutiny that we hold to Kyle, as vicious and as pragmatic as it is, every coach in the NFL deserves that. And you can't be a coach being able to already have plausible deniability because you can blame your quarterback on your GM, which you pushed to get in. Your GM, by the way. Like,
True.
Come on, man. Like,
that's such a Kyle move. Like, come on.
Yeah, make it make sense. So that's number one. I think that losing with the guy that you didn't pick, that somebody else picked, and you were the defensive coordinator, which means that you were not even remotely close to the trade decision, right? It's not even like, again, let's touch on it. Like, I could see if DeMeco was an offensive guy, at least in some way he could say, I was in the room when we made this decision. I was around. I know the thought process and the workflow that went into getting Trey Lance.
Yeah.
He was not around for that. He was the defensive coordinator. He may have given his input on maybe how he processed defense occasionally, but that's not something that was in his wheelhouse. So I don't think taking on Trey Lance just from an optics level, that's my big point right here, would work. Two, the injury history. So Trey's coming in off of the messed up ankle. So we don't even know what Trey is and when he'll be ready. Three, the offense that they've chosen to run. So are we sure that Trey Lance is, it's already hard enough to lateral in a quarterback that's not yours, that's young, that's unproven, that hasn't played a lot of games. But Trey Lance isn't even a ready-made product from the throw. We just got excited about him throwing a spiral. Like his mechanics, we're talking about how he releases the ball, getting all of those reps as time on task with a rookie head coach. It wouldn't even be fair to DeMeco Ryans, let alone Trey Lance, to put him in that type of situation. And the lease would be extremely short because there's already context on Trey Lance. So it's not like he come in as a rookie where he at least has a long enough leash where people have, he's like, he's ours. We drafted this kid. We spent the pick on him. That's one of the reasons why half of us are still on Trey, because of the price that we spent on him. So getting a guy that you traded for, having a guy that isn't even ready to play once he gets there, and your kernel decision for moving him there would be because your new GM thinks that he's the guy. I just don't think it would work.
Okay, let me argue. Let me make the case for why the Texans might want to do this. Not for why the Niners. We know why the Niners would want to do it. For the Texans might want to do this. I think DeMeco's trying to replicate what Kyle did. He got the 6-year contract. I think, Kyle didn't take a quarterback right away. He wanted to build the team up and add the quarterback later. He took he took the wrong defensive player. But that's what he wanted to do. If Bryce Young were available at 2, I think the Texans would take him. But if he's not, and they don't feel like there's a quarterback that's worthy of that number 2 pick, what they could say is, why don't we do what Kyle did, take a defensive player, get a stud, and I could get Trey for a third. You know what I'm saying? And that doesn't even tie me to Trey. We could give Trey a shot, start him. You know what I mean? Like, we're not going freaking anywhere. We're the worst team in the league. Start Trey, see what he does, and we could draft a quarterback next year. Or we could get make a more serious investment in a quarterback next year, because trading for Trey is like half stepping. You know, it's riding, it's hedging. It's a 3rd round pick. It's nothing. It's like drafting CJ Beathard or something. You could do that. That would be the way to sell it, unless they really like CJ Stroud. In which case, why are you messing around with Trey Lance? But I don't know if they do. I mean, if they're Niners South, they're not going to want the guy from Ohio State. I'm telling you that right now. And if he didn't do well in this freaking cognitive test, then like, oh my God, they're not going to want him either.
Yeah. Well, so not trying to put you on the spot, but who have they figured out who's running offense over in Houston?
Bobby freaking Slowick.
Oh,
young Bob.
Bobby
B. So I don't know. I mean, so that's another thing. He knows Trey. He's been working with Trey for 2 years. They could sell it that way too. It's like, instead of bringing in a guy and teaching him the system that's so complicated, Trey already knows it. I'm telling you, man, like, they could talk themselves into this. You made a bunch of good points about why they shouldn't, but I feel like they could talk themselves into doing
fair
this.
To you right now. You're kind of walking me back.
So yeah, I think it's a possibility, man. And it's like, why have the Niners not been talking about Trey? Why are they talking about Sam Darnold so much? Why are they meeting with DTR? Like, have they already discussed this with the Houston Texans? Is this something that's like, hey, man, we'll talk draft night, but if the player you want is there, like, these are the parameters of the deal. I wonder if they've already talked about it, man. It's not like, I mean, everyone knows each other's number. They can call D'Amico.
Speaking, if we're being, yes, they have talked.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they can call D'Amico. It's not hard.
Definitely talked about it. I would say if they have talked about it, we're the last to hear everything. So, right? But if they have talked about it, I think that walking Trey back and propping up Sam would be what you would do.
Exactly what you would do. Real quick, let me just break down what the Houston Texans have to offer. They got pick 33 in round 2. I don't see the Niners getting that. In round 3, they got pick 65 and 73, and in round 4, they got pick 104. So I don't know if the Niners could get both of those 3rd round picks or one of the 3rd round picks, but I don't know if that's enough. But I don't think they're getting pick 33 from Houston. They wanted 2 and a 4. Like, good luck. I don't think so.
That's not happening. But I mean, Trey is in play. You know, pardon the pun, but
they said it.
He's in play. Yeah. And to be honest, all right, man, damn it. Because now when you think about it, right?
Yeah.
They may have a little bit of PTSD with what it took to get rid of Jimmy. And
holding on to him too long and hoping to get more. It's like, if we hold on to him one more year, his value will go up. No, it goes down. It goes down.
And one of the things that I do notice is that when they press on talking points, you almost have to kind of look in the inverse for what they're trying to get away from. And one of the things that John really pressed was Jimmy getting that surgery, Jimmy opting to get the surgery without letting them know, right? And that's what kind of like put a damp towel on his trade market. But before that, they were holding out, trying to get better for Jimmy.
Oh, we could get a 2. We could get 2 2s. No, take the 3. Take the 3. Move on. Yeah.
And I think a little bit of that may creep in with Trey, especially also because if you think about it, they're gonna go into camp with 4. They're probably gonna keep 3, right? Quarterbacks, that is, right? So if you know that Brock is your guy and you're very confident in Sam, right? Like if you think like, all right, look, we can game Smith Sam up. He's athletic enough. He's been around enough. But our locker room just doesn't need the Trey narrative, right? When you would do that is during the draft. While there's so much transactional movement going on, right? Where it's like a Band-Aid. It's in the offseason. It's happening during the draft. And on top of it is that you could go ahead and like get a new little toy during the draft to kind of like pacify everybody. Like, go ahead and get your Dorian guy. Go ahead and get your what's the kid from UCLA?
DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead and go get him.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And honestly, we're only pushing for Trey in spirit. We really haven't
Yeah.
seen enough of him to really be attached to him. So really, if they got a guy that in spirit gave the same skill set what Trey gives us now, and kind of got away from Trey, I don't even think they want Trey to get his shot. Because if Trey gets to camp and starts bubbling, that completely opens this entire thing wide open again. Yeah. Wide open, right? Yeah. Because now Brock isn't coming into a seat that's waiting for him. Now Brock is coming into a hot competition, right? And I don't know. I think they would try to do it. If I was Kyle, I would try to do it during the draft. Sorry.
No, it's all good. I feel like Houston's perfect for Trey, though. I mean, there's no expectations. They're not a good team. They're rebuilding. The head coach has a 6-year contract. He wouldn't have to learn a new offense. That's all good. I mean, the team would suck. He would struggle, but he gets all the reps he would need to get unless Houston totally changes their mind and doesn't give him a chance either. But I mean, like, if the Niners didn't work for him because they're in a win now mode and they can't go through the growing pains, well, like, Houston is one of the teams that is positioned to, like, trust the process and be patient. If not them, then I don't know where he could go, man.
You know what? And I do want to go back on what I said about having a short leash. What leash? You're Houston.
You suck.
Yeah.
You suck. And you need to know what you have in Trey Lance, because if he ain't it, you need to draft a quarterback in round 1 next year. So play him all year and see if you can figure it out. I think that's but again, I don't know if it's going to happen, but this makes it feel like it could happen.
Man. That might actually work.
It might.
Because he does need he just needs the reps. He needs to be left alone too.
He needs to be left alone. Yeah.
Yeah.
With no one looking over his shoulder, no Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
He could do that in Houston. He's always going to have Brock looking over his shoulder or Darnold looking over his shoulder here. It's not really what he needs. But I don't know. Something to think about. Spider Rico says, wasn't Peters pro Lance versus Lynch process caused drama? Peters loved Lance. Trey going to install Slow XO and Peters going to build around him. That's sort of what I was kind of laying out. It's possible that Peters is what was a whole. Maybe Peters was like spearheaded the Lance movement, and now Lance is done, and he, possible. I don't know. I wish I knew.
Yeah.
I mean, Zachary, go ahead.
I would get out of. If I'm Adam Peters, professionally, you do have egg on your face if you stood on the table for Trey.
Yeah. And like the organization was like, you're wrong. We're moving on. Thanks for everything. It's like, all right, well, man, I'm going to go to Houston and prove you wrong. Yeah, I'm out. Yep, it's true. Zach says, big fantasy football guy here and Bears fan. Zachary Coleman. Lance content hooked me and I never left. Really enjoy your viewpoints. Here's to hoping Lance breaks out. Here's to Houston.
Thanks.
Sorry. Mansa, Toure. You lose rookie contract advantage for roster building. True. I mean, true. With Lance, well, you still have 2 more years of him being relatively cheap.
He's talking about Houston loses that advantage by the contract bill, because that is true. You will have to pay Lance.
I mean, ideally, you just take C.J. Stroud number 2. But if Houston feels like that's not the quarterback for them, then what do? Do they take Will Levis number 2? Do they trade down? What do they do? I don't know. Or do they take the quarterback they know? Maybe Bobby Slowick loves Trey Lance. Maybe D'Amico loves Trey Lance. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure. You always talk about defensive coaches like they don't have opinions on quarterbacks. Like they faced him every day. When I used to talk to Robert Saleh, he was very opinionated about the quarterbacks on his team and other teams. I bet you D'Amico, he's not like looking at the quarterback being like, hey, Bobby, what do you see? Like, he has a freaking opinion. He's an expert. He played in the league. He knows what he's looking at.
I agree with you. It was kind of crazy that is, even if this move is made, it in a way that is kind of that's a way of them saying, well, our brain trusts against yours, because what you saw is not what we saw.
Yeah.
So give them to us.
Yep. And I almost feel like there was a little bit of that with Mike McDaniel going to Miami. Like, that was right when the Niners were moving on from Jimmy. McDaniel went down there, got the left-handed Jimmy, and a bunch of dudes went with him. And he was like, I'm bringing Mostert. I'm bringing Jeff Wilson. We're just going to recreate the team we had in 2019 and put Tyreek Hill. It's like, that's kind of interesting too. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, you could see the way they did it. More so Mike than Robert, but you could see that how he built his team was almost kind of like, these are the issues that I had with San Francisco. And this is how I'm rectifying it.
Yeah. Jesse Naylor says, Stroud has the same agent as Deshaun Watson. Texans were never taking him. Hey, good knowledge. Panthers may be trying to swap picks, so they are acting like Bryce is now their guy. Interesting, because I know they've been linked to Stroud.
Easy.
Interesting. Could happen. A lot of intrigue there. The Cosmic Channel says, I did Lance's natal chart. He has lots of Taurus placements and a Leo moon. He is a slow starter, but he will be a superstar watch. There you go. Cosmic Channel just put it out there. What about me? What about me, Cosmic Channel? Tell me something good. Tired of Trey being whiteballed. Ezio Sanchez says, Coach can be the head coach. Grant our GM. I'll play quarterback. You're in, Ezio. I love it. Heavyweight Hank says, getting a pick with Montana and Rice. Should I buy a stuffed goat for the picture? Open to suggestions. Get the picture and show it to us. Get the picture. I hope the Niners keep Trey, but if they let him go, I hope he kicks our ass every time. Man, Niner fans love Trey Lance. They do.
Yeah.
Most of them.
We're slaves. It's a story, though. It's like it's hard to just kill that story.
They're invested. On him. They're invested. I mean, every Niner fan was like, okay, we'll wait 2 years for this to come out. It was like, remember when we were kids and people were talking about, Dr. Dre kept talking about the detox was coming out. It's coming out. It's coming out. It never came out. Ever. Man. We're still waiting 20 years later for the detox to come out. That's kind of like Trey Lance. He's the detox.
Yeah.
Sorry. Kyle won't accept a third, says Monsa. I mean, it's a lot of risk for you're risking your entire reputation as an organization for a third round pick. It's pick 65 though. I mean, it's pretty nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Just don't. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish.
No, go ahead. No, I was just saying, like, even there's a lot to be said about like small quarterbacks, and even if they go with Bryce, I think that Bryce Young is going to be like the last experiment of the obviously small. Yeah. This guy does not have an NFL body, but he can throw it around.
Right,
guy. I think this is it because
I agree. If he's not great, then it's like enough trying to take these. Anomalies would be the word.
Can do it
anomalies.
In college, but this is a grown. No matter how much you protect the quarterback,
who he reminds me of? Brock Purdy.
Jesus, yeah,
he is Brock Purdy. If you put Brock Purdy at Alabama, man, he'd be lighting it up.
Shoot, Brock. And the thing about Brock, I'm a Bama fan, which is crazy. Bryce doesn't play with any type of suddenness at all. He's too cool for school. And
which you can do at Alabama because you got the greatest offensive line.
Yeah.
He's going to get knocked around.